What's up, guys? Welcome back to Play on Wheels. We're back with the 50. I want to let you guys know I haven't forgotten about this project. I see a lot of you asking in the comments. Yes, we still have it. Yes, we're still putting a turbo on it. And I got some new spark plugs for it, so we'll get those swapped out. And the throttle cable and bracket assembly is kind of a mess. You're either at no throttle or full throttle, so we're going to try to build a new throttle pedal assembly inside the car and then get our cable run to our throttle body so that that's a lot smoother and easier to drive. Maybe work on a little tuning here at the end and get this thing ready for the turbo kit in the next video. It's a little windy today, so we're gonna get the old thing pulled in the shop. Just a little bit. That ought to be just fine. Okay, so the spark plugs that are in this are some Autolite, just ones that are cheap for a flathead. I read a lot on the forums and everybody said NGK spark plugs are kind of the way to go on these. So I got some B6Ls for all you flathead guys out there. This is supposed to be a pretty good plug, and hopefully it'll work a little better for the application that we're using with the EFI and everything. So we'll jump right in, do the easy job first, get these plugs swapped out, and then we'll work on that throttle bracket. Get battery unhooked here so we don't shock ourselves or short circuit anything. And these flatheads, the spark plugs are pretty easy to get to. They're right here just on top of the head. And of course I have these individual coil packs which make it a little bit harder, but not really. Oh, that one's in there good. Who tightened these? The Hulk? Okay, they're not supposed to be that tight. Try again this way. Oh my gosh, that is not supposed to be like that. See what these look like too. Ooh. All right guys, so one thing I'm doing by pulling these spark plugs and replacing them all is I'm actually checking on the health of the engine. So a lot of people have said in the comments that with my throttle body injection and the way the injectors point to one side, that I'm gonna have one bank of cylinders that always runs rich and one that always runs lean. So by pulling these plugs, we'll kind of get to judge which is gonna be which. And this first one here, as you guys can see probably, is running quite a bit rich, and it even looks like we had maybe some combustion gas leakage or something around this one. So hopefully replacing these will help all around with this engine. So we'll look at it together. All right, here's the second one. Pretty much the same story. Kind of rich, kind of black. Not terrible. Also, I want you guys to notice this second one here doesn't have any of this discoloration, so not really sure if that's combustion, but either way, these are not looking great, but they're also not looking the worst in the world. All right, y'all, so we got all the plugs out. Again, here's that first one on the driver's side with the discoloration. And pretty much everybody's looking the same. All have carbon buildup. All have a little bit of discoloration on the electrode. So for the most part, they all look pretty well even. So I think the idea that I'm really gonna have bad fuel distribution is just not true. The way that these intakes are designed, they share the front and rear carburetor ports basically with multiple cylinders, and they all kind of go different directions. So it's not like all of one bank of cylinders is just on one side. So basically what I'm trying to say is I don't think the fuel distribution is really going to be a problem. So let's throw in those new plugs real quick, and then we'll move on and try to build ourselves a throttle cable. All right, y'all, so we've got the new plugs here, and I looked it up, and the gap range is pretty big, but I think we're going to go with about 32 thousandths on these. And that's because, number one, we're running LS coil pack, so we've got a much hotter spark anyway. And number two, we are going to be eventually putting boost to this, so I want that gap just a little more closed up so that it can survive when we have a little bit of boost going to this thing. So 32 thousandths, we'll throw the rest of these back in, and that should wrap up the spark plugs. All right, the first one's gapped at 32 thou. Let's get the rest of these in. All right, so we got the new plugs in, and we're gonna move on to the throttle pedal assembly. And I wanted to explain to you guys why I'm changing it and kind of what is messed up about the one that we have in the car now. So if this kind of section right here is the firewall of the car, basically the throttle pedal itself is just a piece of flat metal that I made, and I welded it onto a round piece of rod, okay? That rod has a pin in it right here that pins it to this dotted line, which this dotted line actually represents the throttle pedal pivot arm that's on the firewall of the car. So as you press the throttle pedal toward the firewall, it rotates this on this pivot point, and then it actually pulls backwards on this arm, which in turn I have a throttle cable that is connected to this arm and wraps around the throttle bodies and has the little cable end sticking out, and that's what pulls on the throttle body blades to open up the throttle body. So if that sounded half as complicated as it felt to explain, I think it's a big part of the reason why whenever I go to push on this pedal, I get like a little bit of movement, and then all of a sudden like it goes to the floor, because there's just a lot of different twisting and turning and pulling and things happening with all this crap that's going on right now. So what my goal is for today is to basically simplify this as much as possible, to the point that the cable itself, we eliminate the bracket that's on the firewall, or sorry, the pivot arm that's on the firewall, and basically make the cable pull directly off of the pedal, however I have to make that work, and then go straight to the throttle body. So we get rid of, you know, 1, 2, 3 pivot points, a cable that wraps literally 180 degrees around, and then has a small cable end that goes to the throttle body. So I'm gonna ponder this a little bit and jump right in and start fabricating some stuff. And then once I get to a point where I can show you guys kind of what I have going on, I will give you an update. Okay guys, so I got the stock factory pieces out of the car. Well, at least this piece right here, which is the bracket, the pivot bracket I was telling you guys about. So like this would mount to the firewall, and then this little pedal piece is what I would push on, stuck through the firewall, and it would connect like that, and then it would push this and pivot right there, which has this pretty heavy spring on it. So it was kind of hard to push because that spring was tensioning. But then the throttle cable that goes to the throttle body would attach here. And so you can see how it would rotate on the firewall, pull that back, again, snake all the way around the throttle bodies. So really complicated, lots of friction, lots of tension trying to push this thing and operate the throttle. So we're gonna do away with all this and make a much simpler version to hopefully make this thing a lot easier to accelerate and give part throttle. All right guys, I got the new throttle pedal done, and here it is. I'll tell you guys, I'm not super proud of this, but it was enough to make the whole thing a lot simpler and actually get good clean throttle. So I actually did go ahead and order a billet aluminum throttle pedal assembly, but I wanted to go ahead and make something work so that I can do some more tuning and actually see if this helps at all with the drivability of the car. So the way this works is this is just excess cable here, not really doing anything, but the cable comes through the firewall and through this piece of metal right here, and I have this pivot point right here. So this basically acts like a small seesaw, and as you can see, pulls the cable through as you push on the bottom of this pedal, and right there is actually full throttle. That's all the travel that we have on our throttle body cable. So that's that. Coming around here to the engine bay, get some light turned on. Right down here on the firewall, right here, you guys, I don't know if you can see that very well, but this is where the cable goes in. It's got like a nut on either side, you know, goes through the firewall there, and then the cable routes up right here and goes straight into the bracket on the throttle body. So before we had that pivot thing that came through down there, bolted there, again on the other side of the firewall, and we had a bracket right here for our cable, so our cable had to snake all the way around the front of the intake over and into this piece. So we've got this simplified a lot more than what it was. So let's fire it up and see if it does anything. Fire it up here and see how it does. Nope, because the battery's not hooked up. All right, let's give this another try now that the battery's actually hooked up. Fuel pump. Oh, way better. I like instant throttle now. Ooh, need to tighten that alternator belt a little bit, but okay, so immediate thoughts are this is way better throttle response. Before I was trying to push that rod and all that bracketry and everything, and this is just so smooth. You guys can tell, like, probably from before, but especially now where the throttle response is instant. Like, it revs up. I have a direct control over the throttle, so this is a way better setup. Don't know if I'm going to put that billet pedal on, but went ahead and ordered that just in case. But yeah, I think that's problem solved, at least for now, as far as the throttle cable. All right, so we're gonna take it for a little street drive, see if we did any better. I'm still running, it's a little rich on my AFR, but let's take it for a ride and see how much better the throttle response is on the street. feel a huge difference already. The tune is definitely not 100% good still, but throttle response, ability to shift gears, take off, all that feels way better now. It's very smooth to drive is what I'm trying to say. Before I would just really struggle to push that throttle pedal. Now I can downshift, upshift. Feels really good. Midway up the RPM, starts kind of wanting to break up a little bit, but I think, again, that's probably where the tune needs a little bit of work. And we're gonna let this person go on by. Also, who would have thought that 1950 Fords have like the tightest ever turning radius of anything? I don't know, probably poop. Alright guys, well, we're going to keep today's video pretty short. Got new spark plugs and a new throttle pedal assembly. Driving a lot better. I mainly just wanted you guys to realize that this project isn't going anywhere. We've got a lot more videos on it. We still got to put that turbo kit on. I promise you guys that's coming up.